Thank you for staying with us. Before we went on the break, we're looking at an overview of the electricity sector, how we have fared as a country in 2023. And we're speaking with Dr. Ayodele Oni, who is the chairman and partner of the Energy Practice Group at Bloomfield Law Practice. And we also have public affairs analyst Olusegun Okwade. Let's come to you now, Sheson. We have invited you on set for several conversations with regards to this matter of electricity, be it grid collapse, be it the pricing. Recall how Nigerians reacted when the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission was looking at increasing the price of electricity, and Nigerians were reacting and talking about how it is that they are paying so much and not seeing what they were paying for. And then if you look at reports, it said that federal government has spent about 600 billion naira on electricity subsidy. Help us understand, this whole matter of the subsidy, the fact that Nigerians are worried about the increase in the prices of tariff, and yet they are not getting so much with regards to what they pay for.
Yeah, thank you very much. And let me appreciate my partner, Dr. Ayodele Oni, for some of the words he has given to. In response to this, I'm sure you know most of the subsidy you're talking about emanates from the lowest cadre of the three value chain that we have. We have the generation, the transmission, and the distribution. And the only one you can talk about that you're subsidizing for are the end user, which are you and I, that have been doing. I'm sure at the out of the word subsidy, everybody start asking questions. There are so much underneath it that we cannot look beyond. But truth be told, that there are serious gap when it comes to distribution and with the commercial end user of that particular product. What do I mean? A lot of energy theft has made the distribution company not to function the way they should function. And I will put that in different categories of what I will consider as some of the challenges they created themselves. First and foremost, you discover that a lot of people lay off from the power sector in the distribution arm. They are the one that assist even the citizen or the consumers to actually carry out some of the energy theft that we're talking about. We've been complaining of shortage in the delivery or supply of meters, but even where those meters are supplied, you ask yourself, there are a lot of energy meter bypassed that certain set of people, even the elites, go all the route to just pay a little token and consume law. So it's only in this part of the climb that I looked at it that you will construct a big edifice, but it will be very, challenging for you to do what is needful when it comes to connection policy. And it takes me back to the regulators and the players in that sector too. How much of the right connection policy are you able to put in place? When you go to the building construction app, there are regulations of specifications of things that must be done. If you don't do it, they will not approve those certain things. But how much have we done on the part of both the regulators and the distribution company? I consider that as a major constraint that is not allowing the growth. A lot of cobwebs we have out there. Everybody just connect to the grid the way they like. It's not obtainable. And we cannot grow in that particular thing. And we've suggested to NEC, can we come out with the right connection policy, not just as paper, but actually being enforced in such a way that we understand how you route your connection to the grid. There are so many underground cables that people are laying in some areas. You ask yourselves, there are certain estates, they will tell you they don't want to see any cabling flying out up there. They invest so much. I will always tell individual, I may sound unpopular because I'm a citizen too. Electricity does not come cheap. The same way you invest a lot of things in you building your home is the way you must invest a lot in making sure that you have the right connection policy in such a way that you can connect rightly and people will be able to trace some of those. You ask yourself, why is it that some estates have more preference than the other? It's because their network connection is clean. You can trace easily when there are problems. But most of the time, what we have do with the cobwebs, I'm speaking specifically to distribution company because that's where affects you and I.
Yes.
And when you look in line, that's where everybody, if people must appraise this power sector, it lies with the distribution company. Because even the collapse that we are experiencing is as a result of the problem that the discos are facing. Some of them, you will the power to them, they are not ready to accept it, because on the long run, they find it difficult to repay back to the market operators. Don't forget that they are not just getting that thing for free. They have to pay for it. There is a mechanism that check the amount of what is being supplied to them and must be paid for. So if I will to you 300 megawatts at a cost, I expect you to pay back. You know, they were having a lot of accumulated debts before now, until market operators, you know, how they plow into it and deduct their 100% of whatever they are giving to them. And that's why you saw a lot of distribution companies, you know, having challenges, you know, where they are financier. So there must be massive, like what Dr. Ade, massive investment. You know, the reason when this privatization was coming up was that we thought that those that were actually buying up those companies, we invest, you know, seriously into it. But just very few of them have actually done that. And that's why we are facing with those problems. You don't want to go the route of metering gap, where for like over 6 months, it was pretty difficult. Most disco were not metering, because they were actually saying the cost of getting the meters was on the high side. The meter suppliers are actually complaining, and they were, you know, dilly-dallying, you know, discussing on how to, until they came to that around September, October. And from that period till now, majority of the disco are even still battling with the backlog of what they had.
Recently, we saw a report where they were saying that they have been able to provide meters to over 7 million of customers, so to speak.
Within which space? I'm in the space, and I know a lot of people who, as we speak, are yearning to pay for meters, but the portals are not open for them to make the payment. That's the reality.
Well, they kept advertising that you know, your meters are available. I know how many times I get to
maybe for people that have paid before now and have access to the installation. If my account do not fail me, I've had instances where, because I play in that sector, where people have called me and said, Sheson, please, the estimated billing I'm getting is this. And I relate with some of those top management team, and they say, Sheson, we are working. We will soon open the portal for people to start making their payment. But we need to clear the backlog so that we don't get those in and we'll have difficulty in supplying those things to them. You ask yourself, the meter suppliers, how much of these meters have they been able to push into the system as we speak? But you know, there is a particular thing I keep asking the disco as a solution to some of these problems we are having. Can you what we call liberalize the system in such a way that you can open up and franchise some of these dedicated transformers to individuals that can go ahead and manage it for them? You have estates where they bulk build. You know, with that idea, you have no problem about how those estates, you know, put resources together to make sure that they pay your bill. What you are after is that, if as a matter of fact, there are some discos that are installing prepaid MD meters. So you have to buy token into that prepaid on your transformer, because before you can have supply. And what all of them are doing is that they now consult, you know, with people in metering, you know, department, right, or sub-metering companies, and they meter themselves. They come out and provide that cost. It is the estate that goes around to see how they metered it, and they check on one another. Both of you are staying in the same apartment. You know, Vero has about 7 AC. You have about 7 ACs, and you are looking at your consumption. Vero is buying 100,000 in a year, in a month, and you are spending over 300,000. You ask yourself, something funny must be happening somewhere. So you can go have a close marking, you know, at what is happening, investigate it. If there is a bypass or anything, you penalize the person to cover up for the cost. So we must take it to the grassroots. We must be closer to the people, decentralizing the, you know, that which is being carried out by the disco, and it will be better for them. If I build a DT 1 billion naira,
It's about how you are able to galvanize things together within yourself. And you see so many people are putting those structures in to make it happen.
This is an initiative you've always been, conversing, advancing all of the time. You come on the set to talk about it. And I hope that, the government and, state government precisely will definitely look into this. But then let me take you to Mr. Oni, talking about the role of the state government in all of this. President Bola Tinubu assented to the electricity bill, which empowers the states, companies and individuals to generate, transmit and distribute electricity, repealing the Electricity and Power Sector Reform Act of 2005, and then to consolidate the laws relating to the Nigerian electricity supply industry, that's NESI. How far-reaching do you think this would be, and what do you think has been done so far to implement this act?
Okay, the devil is always in implementation. I always say that the devil is in implementation in Nigeria. Nigeria has some of the best laws in the world, and I have this argument with my friends who are non-Nigerians that we have some of the best laws. Now, the Electricity Act repealed the Electric Power Sector Reform Act, and it then allows states to make laws for generation, transmission, distribution, even in areas covered by the grid. Because previously, they could make laws in those areas, provided that the grid doesn't extend there. Now, there's hardly any area in Lagos, for example, where you say the grid doesn't extend to. So it's been a challenge. Now, this law sort of allows states to be creative. And it goes to some of what he's saying. I have a concept in my head, and I call it the Oluomo concept for sub-franchising, which my colleague has just mentioned. Because there's certain areas where you have father figures, you have influence figures, who can whip people into shape and ensure that everyone in that area pays. You just give, you'll be creative. These distribution companies can now be creative. The states can force them to be creative in sub-franchising for different aspects of their roles, whether it's metering, whether it's collection, those things that have been a problem. And speaking about metering, I was looking at last report. It was saying only 44% of Nigerians have been metered. 44.5 thereabout. I'm not 100% sure of the exact figure, but I think it's around 44%. So we are behind schedule for most things, because without proper metering, you will always have issues around collection. You have issues around commercial losses. So if you have those issues, then you can't grow, because like my colleague in your studios did mention, if you send out 300 megawatts and you can only collect 150, you still have to pay the SOM, or you have to pay embed, the administrative charge, and then ultimately the GenCos will need to pay for gas. Remember that gas is a pass-through for electricity generation. So states need to be creative, whip these guys into shape, particularly distribution companies. And I wouldn't say it's solely their fault, because you also have to look at if transmission has been a problem. But people then say that many of them even reject power. That's why NEC has made a few rules. Now, another thing I would then say is that states must ensure that there isn't political influence. Because if you speak to the regulators, particularly in the past, and I do not speak about this government, because this government is only 7 months old. They've always complained that because NEC makes some of the best regulations, we must ensure that we understand what the problem is nationally, so that states don't repeat. We don't begin to have 36 states repeating the same problem we had with the federal. What were those problems? Electricity theft, those losses, war military, even pricing, tariffs, because electricity shouldn't be cheap necessarily, because it's a service. It will depend on the factors that come together for them to generate electricity. If gas is expensive, you then do not expect electricity to be cheap. So states need to take a holistic view, make laws, and each needs to be creative, because what works in Lagos State, what will work in Mushi, like the Oluomo principle, or work in Oshodi, may not necessarily work in Victoria Island. So states need to be creative with their laws. They cannot just copy and paste, whilst we still have an integrated approach, so that we're not, everything doesn't go haywire. That's another thing. Then also, even whilst you have the stick approach, there needs to be collaboration between states and their licensees. And states need to even begin to take those steps. I understand whether it's a Kitty, one of these states is already, because there's a step in the Electricity Act, you need to have your law, have your regulator, inform NEC, and there's a process within which I think it shouldn't exceed maybe 6 months or something. You know, so states have a big role to play now, and collaboration is critical.
Yes. All right.